Welcome back.
This is the Synchronicity Podcast. I'm Nicole.
And I'm Megan.
And we change your brain to change your life. We take old programming that was given to you in childhood from your parents and give you a different perspective so that you can live a more wholesome, authentic adult self life.
Yeah, we script and we use plant medicine. Sometimes it's not necessary, but at times we love using microdosing to help you change your brain. Yeah. If you want to know more about that, go to our website, binge our content, learn some things, maybe don't learn some things. I don't really know, but we're here, and we do coaching and lots of things. So run retreats, so join the community. We'd love to have you. As always, for new listeners, thanks for being here. For the old ones, we love you and thank you for all of this support. But today we're going to talk about narcissists and empaths and how they're the same trauma.
Well,
just to different extremes.
Yeah, like social media, just like recently, it's all just like narcissists, they do this, they do that. And no one ever talks about the other side of it. So we were like, let's do a podcast talking about both sides of it to break down the actual trauma and the psychology behind it because they're the same thing.
Yeah, so essentially both of them were extremely traumatized as children, and both are control issues. One just went into complete collapse into everything is all about me, and the other one collapsed into it's all about other people. And empaths essentially are just trying to fix other people, and that's a form of control. So their way of getting what they want is still victimhood. Both are in victimhood, but it's trying to fix or essentially mother people into, getting whatever they want. And I know that's really hard to hear as an empath or a doormat, but you're still trying to get your needs met or your fix or whatever. It's really, it's such a hot word right now, like narcissist, right? And everybody would prefer to be the empath in the narcissist empath relationship. But in all actuality, you're just as sick as the narcissist. You're just feeling better about yourself because you don't make it all about you. You make it about other people. But that is still mental illness. That's still a control issue. That's still not focusing on self. That's still not taking care of self. So, being a 0 is just as bad as being a 10. So just a heads up on that.
Well, but I also think that true narcissists kind of like bounce between both of them because it's like, it's all about them, but then they also project it's all about like fixing other people and controlling other people and like manipulating.
Well, but narcissists can't take accountability. They have no ability to self-reflect, and empaths do.
Right.
So
empaths, that's like the biggest thing that separates the two.
Can heal. Narcissists cannot. So narcissists, it's collapsed ego, right? They're like so self-obsessed and self-involved. It's self. And it's because they're just like a black ball of darkness, essentially. Even though they have a God complex, they literally think so poorly of themselves that they need constant validation and reassurance that they are a God in order to feel alive. And empaths give them that supply. So narcissists, why it may seem that way, it's not.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's where, mainly the main reason we did this is to clear up the difference between the two of them because, they are so similar, yet so different.
Yes.
It's a constant, like, power struggle between the two of them. Like, you can see the power.
Yeah, so bipolar personality disorder is like legitimately almost the exact same as narcissism, except narcissists usually don't have manic episodes and bipolar people have mania, right? So, a lot of the mental illnesses or a lot of the human condition is very similar with just like small tweaks of personalities or whatever, right? So, narcissist, I think my belief is that there's a lot of people with narcissistic tendencies in today's world, because the main hallmark of a narcissist or psychopath or sociopath is that they make people feel sorry for them. You know, the dark triad is quite interesting. But victimhood is their main source of manipulation, right? They introduce victimology into every relationship, and then they're able to manipulate from a place of seeming lesser than or whatever, right? That's why often they're really hard to actually pinpoint, because they're so good at manipulating and gaslighting that you really often can't even tell who they are in society. So these people that are, and we live in a victim mentality culture. So it's kind of hard to tell who's a narcissist and who's not. And that's why it's such a hot word right now, because technically, like, everybody's so collapsed into making excuses and being victims and not taking accountability for their actions that, you know, poor me, which is the main mentality of it. Like, and then add social media, we're living in a very narcissistic tendency based culture that is actually being cultivated by the culture, by the media.
Well, and like tendencies, I mean, but that can be, right, like, technically, like, an empath can have narcissistic tendencies. They're on the same spectrum. They just have the ability to self-reflect and then be able to heal.
Well, they're victims, and they have a lot of self-loathing of, like, I'm not good enough to ask for what I want. Yet, yes, they are similar, but how they go about things is different.
Right.
So, empath, I'm trying to fix other people. So, essentially, if you're mothering a man or, like, doing any of that, now, again, it can be a narcissistic tendency, or it can be that you're dating a narcissistic man and you're being an empath. So, yes, you're correct that they're very similar energetically, because, you know, even narcissists can seem empathetic, but they have no empathy. And I remember one of my exes who is 100% a narcissist, like, actually
verbatim to the book,
been diagnosed by a psychiatrist. Yeah. It was quite interesting because, like, I would tell him something, you know, like, oh, my mom had a mental breakdown, and it was like blank eyes. Like, he didn't know how to hold space. An empath would be like, oh my God, like, hug, know how to respond emotionally.
Right.
A narcissist is like, what do I do? Because they don't feel empathy. So you'd have to be in a energetically emotional, like, transaction to really feel like they almost error. And it was funny because, like, this was before I knew what he was, but it's really fascinating because it's like they glitch. Mm-hmm. And that's where now I can kind of see who's been a narcissist in my past and who hasn't, because there's been narcissistic tendencies, but there's only two that I know to be, like, I think actually one was a psychopath, but similar, right? Narcissist, the other was a psychopath. But, you know, and they also, narcissists go after women or men that are well-to-do. Because it's an ego thing. Empaths don't. Empaths are like, I just want to be loved, right? Narcissists go after people that make them feel worthy, so they look for astute human beings to feed off of.
Right.
So, you know,
it's very parasitic.
It's very parasitic. But again, that's why there's not as many narcissists as we think.
Right.
Or as social media would like you to believe. You know, and again, I'm not a psychiatrist, so I don't diagnose people, but, you know, you can see you can just tell. It's also kind of like this blank eyes. Their eyes are almost like black, and they're just kind of like blank. That's a narcissist.
Well, and, like, also, like, my experience with narcissists, like full-blown narcissists, is that the conversation always will turn to them. It doesn't matter if you're having a complete emotional meltdown, if something, like, your dog could have been hit by a car, and they'll make it about them. They don't hold space, like you said. They don't hold space for anything.
Well, because they don't understand empathy. They only understand self.
Right. And so if you're asking yourself, you're listening to this and you're like, oh my God, have I met someone that has these tendencies? Well, or are they a full-blown narcissist? And to elaborate on, like, what you're saying is like, when you're having a conversation with a narcissist, they almost like aren't even interested in what you're talking about.
Not at all, because they don't feel.
They'll just completely like, they almost like float off, and then they'll like change the subject to be about them, or like completely irrelevant, or they'll just get up and leave the conversation. Like, I've experienced this like very few times in my life, and it's literally like mind blowing to just watch someone literally, like, you're having an in-depth conversation and they will just get up and remove themselves. Whether they do it like mentally check out or they actually physically move, that is a very good indication that that person is a narcissist.
Well, or they'll shame you for having feelings. That's the other big one.
Yeah, is
that they'll kind of like look at you with this, and they'll gaslight you, right? Yeah. An empath won't do this. An empath will like, how are you doing? Do you want to go do something? Whatever.
Try to fix the problem.
Try to fix it, yes. But a narcissist will kind of look at you, get this disgusted look on your face, and be like, like, you're too old to be acting like this. So essentially, they, again, and we've talked about this, they do not allow you to have feelings, which anytime you don't let somebody have feelings, you damage them. So they gaslight and manipulate you into not having any feelings because it's inconvenient for them.
Right.
An empath won't do that. But what an empath has to understand is that stop trying to fix people, because you're getting into dysfunctional relationships because you literally have the same trauma as that narcissist does, but you don't take care of yourself, because you would not. Narcissists go after people that are willing to put other people above themselves. Essentially, you're willing to love the narcissist. That's their game, right? How can I get you to love me more than you love yourself? And at that point, you're a broken human being, and then they have absolute control, and that's when they discard and they go get new supply.
Well, and the thing that's really fascinating, too, is, like, if you are an empath hearing this and you're fixing others, the one main way to weed out a narcissist is have strong boundaries. Know what you want, what you don't want, and how you want it. Because it's amazing when you put a boundary down with a narcissist, you will weed them out. Because they literally have no respect for boundaries. They will push, usually.
Yeah, I mean, a narcissist can get in relationships with other narcissists. That does happen.
Yeah.
When a relationship is just vapid and it's just full of validation, they're actually very well equipped to be in a relationship together. Sadly, it's like, I think you kind of see that with like Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds. They're both very narcissistic individuals.
Yeah.
And like what's going on with Justin Baldoni right now, like that's quite fascinating to watch two narcissists fall from grace. That
they fight for power too.
Again, I'm not diagnosing anybody, but I'm
pretty sure observation of behavior.
If you watch like Blake Lively interviews, she's a jerk, and same with Ryan Reynolds. Like, they're not. He talks about like killing people and stuff, and it's strange. They're just
and like that's a good example, right? So narcissists also always go after the one that got away, because it's like a control aspect. Like, he's still like crazy obsessed with Scarlett Johansson.
Well, because he didn't break her,
right?
Yeah. So they'll be obsessed with, if somebody recognizes that somebody's a narcissist and gets out of it before they become a broken individual, they get quite upset. And I actually remember my mentor, when I broke up with my ex, she was like, "I have failed you." And I was like, "No, you haven't. I'm fine." I mean, it sucked to go through the breakup. But I didn't come out of the relationship a broken human being. Now, in my relationship prior with a psychopath, I did come out a broken human being. That was a friggin' adventure.
Took some time to heal.
But again, I was an empath, right? A doormat, and I liked narcissists because that's what I was used to. That was the patterning that was created, and then I just thought it was normal.
Right.
And now, as I come more and more out of that, we have to recognize that codependent relationships are really, really sick, right? There wouldn't be drunks if there wasn't enablers. There wouldn't be drug addicts if there weren't enablers. And it's the same thing. There wouldn't be narcissists if there wasn't enablers. So, the empath, you have to love yourself as a woman better than you love a man. And if you do that, you will never be in a narcissistic relationship ever again. Because again, they want to be God. If you don't make them God and you realize your own worth, it's never going to happen. And for men, men are obsessed with narcissistic women because the feminine naturally should love itself more than it loves any man. But you guys are going after OnlyFans models and women that are collapsed into their masculine, selling their bodies. If a woman's selling her body and is a gold digger, she has no femininity left, and you're mistaking that narcissism as femininity. No. Feminine may love themselves better than they love a man, but it's from a place of light and love and wanting what's best for humanity. Narcissists want to essentially like eat your soul. And destroy you. So it's a totally different vibration. And, you know, men need to understand that if a woman is looking for validation on social media by selling her body, and essentially like selling her soul and doing that in a way, you know, she's not wife material. I don't understand this like obsession with women that are, you know, it's also the women with all of the plastic surgery. Like, that's not feminine either. Like, that's not self-love. That's actually self-hatred. Like, all of this injections and all of the shit that's, like, the lips that... I mean, they look like blow-up dolls. And it's really interesting because narcissists actually often go after women that look like blow-up dolls. Because if they're not narcissists, then they're actually collapsed empaths and just hate themselves and are trying to fix themselves and make themselves worthy of love through all of this plastic surgery. And I see both sides of the coin, and it's crazy, and it's actually super obvious to me at this point, like, which is what, but a lot of it is who they're dating.
Well, but, like, we're also seeing it very much in, like, women that are just like, well, I don't need a man, you know, like, are obsessed with making all this money. Like, they're just kind of, like, they're just so self-absorbed, and, like, I'll just make my money. They're not a team player. They just go out and they just bulldoze through people.
Well, they're not capable of love.
Yeah.
A narcissist is not capable of love.
Right. And so you're seeing this a lot. And I feel like I see this more in women because also a narcissist wants to be respected and cherished.
Yes.
They want both. And in a relationship, if one person wants to be respected and cherished, that means that the other person is a zero. And so empaths usually want to be cherished. Or, like, if you are in your feminine, you want to be cherished, and the masculine wants to be respected if you're in a, you know, base core relationship. But, like, narcissists want both. And I've talked to several of my girlfriends, and, like, I'm like, well, you want to be respected and cherished. Well, no. And I'm like, okay, but, like, what you're telling me is that you want to be both. So you have narcissistic tendencies because you want your husband to take up zero space, or your boyfriend, and you want all of the space. You want him to literally kiss your feet and make all the money and respect you for making money. It's like this mind fuck of society right now.
Well, they just don't know any better. Also, a great way to catch a narcissist is, like, if they're in a relationship, they don't post their significant other because they want... They want validation and attention and possibly new supply from anybody on the internet. So when I look at, like, men that don't post their significant others or women that don't post their significant others, you're probably dealing with a narcissist because they're acting single when they're in a relationship, which is exactly what Nicole is talking about. They want to be respected and cherished, and they don't care about somebody else's feelings.
I've never posted a boyfriend on social media.
Never?
I think it's weird. It, like, freaks me out because I'm like, it's kind of like the whole kid thing. Like, I like my personal, like, life, not on the internet.
Yeah, but okay, but you're not like an influencer. I'm talking about like an influencer.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I'm just like asking for clarity because I'm like, I've never done that. And
yeah,
like,
no, we know people like this that are like,
yeah,
that own huge companies that are part of the spiritual world. And I won't name names, but like they have serious significant others. And
years, like 5+ years with this person, and they've never hit social media with
never post
hundreds
their
of thousands of followers
or anything, and they're known for like being in the DMs of like baddies and stuff. Like, he's a narcissist. But also we know it's like there's, you know, a Russian actress that I'm aware of that like never posts her husband but posts her kids, you know, and now she's going through a divorce and like things like that. But she's a full-blown narcissist.
Yeah, I mean, that was very fascinating to watch, right? That was two narcissists in a relationship fighting for power, not potency.
Oh, yeah.
That was a wild relationship to break down.
Total manipulation, you know, and she actually destroyed,
Yeah. So the baseline of it is narcissists and empaths really come from the same trauma. It's just a completely different spectrum. And, you know, there's more people with narcissistic tendencies than full-blown narcissists. And of course, you know, like always, we always recommend that if you are concerned about any of these, you seek professional advice and counseling, because some of these are very serious. You know, especially being an empath, fixing other people. Narcissists, you know, you can't reflect, so usually they don't end up in a therapy office. But if you're listening to us on YouTube, please subscribe, like us, share us. If you're on Apple or Spotify, also like, share, comment. If there's anything that you want us to talk about, send us a DM at synchronicity_sisters. And until next time, bye.